Imagine a world where 2 of every 3 employees is either a millennial or a Gen Z. The generations born after 1980. In 2025, that's our reality. Now imagine a world where we don't have to start every TED Talk with saying, "Imagine a world." And instead we show a rainbow cat gif, or we do a TikTok dance. Or we ask our AI chatbot friend, how can I get back on topic here? Ah, yes. For the first time in history, the workforce is dominated by digital natives. Yet at the same time, people are working longer than ever before, well into their 70s, 80s, even 90s. And so we've stretched these workplace norms. And that means that they inherited a lot of the workplace norms from generations affected by the Industrial Revolution, World Wars I and II, the Great Depression. And so again, we've stretched and stretched and stretched these from events 75 to 150 years ago. And all of a sudden, they snapped in the last few years. We had the Great Resignation. We've had plummeting employee engagement. And this has led to this critical moment in time for the great workplace rewrite, looking and crafting this based on the preferences of Gen Z and millennials, but forged in large part by the generations that preceded us, Generation X and the baby boomers, who really helped cultivate and develop the modern internet. And at the same time, they raised us. Who do you think gave us all these participation trophies? So what are the norms that we need to look at rewriting? The first one, this idea that you're lucky to have a job. I hear my grandma's loving words echoing in my ears there. I actually believe increasingly companies are lucky to have talented employees, because there are so many options available in terms of the workforce. From digital job boards, the gig economy, social media, global remote work, and AI tools that can help match our skills and capabilities to opportunities. And what we have to accept is that oftentimes switching jobs is completely rational economic behavior. The Bank of America Institute said that the median pay increase for someone who left their job during the Great Resignation was 20%. That seems pretty rational, right? So how do we get people to act somewhat irrationally, economically at least? First, we must lead with why, our purpose. How is the work that our organization doing? How is it making the world better? How is it making our communities better? How is your individual contribution helping us achieve that? That's our true competitive advantage at this point. Companies like, this is a measurement of the purpose index, companies like Seventh Generation, known for its eco-friendly products, and USAA, insurance for the military and veterans and their families. They have very strong purpose, as evidenced by making these lists. Also, workplace flexibility. 3 out of 4 Gen Z or millennials will stay longer at a job if they have an opportunity to have flexible work opportunities. And also providing a vision for one's career. It's not enough to just plop someone in a role and expect them to just keep chugging away. We have to outline a vision with roadmaps and checkpoints of what you can achieve by staying here. And it doesn't hurt to gamify the process a little bit, right? Badges, levels, points for the digital natives. Okay, so those are some basics. And if you're doing that at your organization, my hat's off to you. That's already a fantastic start. But this is a TED Talk, so let's push a little bit deeper, right? Let's get a little bit more profound. So workplace norm 2, the corporate ladder. Some kind of built-in assumptions here that may no longer apply. that you're going to work somewhere at one job for a long time, maybe your entire career, in one industry, and perhaps with one area of expertise. I'm proposing let's replace that with the career jungle gym, a phrase coined by my friend Danielle Roberts on my Gen Z at Work podcast. I love it. Because honestly, which of these looks more fun to you? Right? But the career jungle gym really reflects a modern reality that we will work in many jobs, in many industries, with many areas of expertise. Although fellow speakers today evidence of things that have changed in the last 1, 2, even 3 years. It is projected that Gen Z will work on average 17 jobs over the course of their lives in 5 different careers. See, 1, 2, I think we got 17 there, yeah, definitely. And I feel like I'm well on my way to hitting that number, perhaps going beyond, leading me to this TED Talk here today. Hi, Mom. So how do we keep talented people at our organizations in this context? We have to embrace flexible career paths. Of course, standard advancement upward, but also lateral moves, or even taking a step backward based on our work-life balance needs. Embracing tools like HR analytics or AI tools that can help us map out a path for our employees and have them adapt as their interests adapt throughout their career. But going beyond their core work, what can we do outside of that? I like to call it the internal side hustle. Embracing that spirit of Gen Z and millennials, that side hustle. Let's use that to our advantage. Of course, being in Silicon Valley, I have to mention Google's classic 20% time, where people were able to dedicate resources one day of the week to exploring projects outside of their day-to-day. And Unilever has a really cool program called the Flex, where they're actually using AI to help people essentially create like an internal freelance marketplace. And finally, externally, things like sending people to networking events and pursuing professional certifications. Looking externally at the community for things like mentoring at nonprofits or collaborating with startup incubators. Are these all just really cool ways to continue to pursue your interests while staying at one organization? So that's the career jungle gym. And finally, I want to go to the very top and look at our leadership models here. Because traditional leadership, there's a real problem. Fewer than 1 in 4 employees strongly agree that they trust their leadership. And that's not just for organizations. Government, healthcare, Congress, big tech, you name it. Trust is falling across the board. Except influencers are bucking that trend. 50% of Gen Z are getting news from social media, are getting their news from social media. People like Kylie Jenner have more followers on Instagram than any newspaper in the history of our world. People like Mr. Beast are getting more views on their YouTube channel than any nightly news program. Now, we're probably not going to be able to get Kylie's numbers here at our organizations, but what can we do on a micro influencer level? The first really important thing to know here is that micro influencers are the #1 element that can affect and incite people to actually try a new product for Gen Z and millennials. And they actually see 3 times the engagement rates as those more traditional celebrity style accounts. So people really connect and trust with these micro influencers. So again, let's leverage this at our organization. I'm calling it influencer leadership. Thank you. So what do we have to do to become an influencer leader? First, we have to have a digital presence. And of course, our mindset oftentimes goes to external tools like LinkedIn and Instagram. But actually, I want to really encourage you, think internally. The category is enterprise social network. That's where you can really affect change internally and share some of those organizational insights. But beyond that, what are we posting? I hate to break it to you, but it's microform video content. That's what creates those connections. 15 to 60-second videos. Think TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. Quick hitting updates on what your company is doing and featuring customers or employees. Really great ways reacting to industry trends. And finally, we must embrace participation, creating those two-way channels for our digital native workforce. Q&As, ask me anything type of sessions, polls, allowing people to actually have a say and affect influence up to the leadership level. Some of my favorite influencer leaders, Mark Cuban, Melinda Gates, Scott Galloway, people that I've never met, but I feel like I have a connection or relationship with them from following their updates. And really, at the end of the day, which of these models do you think is going to create more trust and buy-in and access to information for, again, our digital native generations? All right, so we covered a lot today. Quick recap, changing from lucky to have a job to lucky to have employees. Going from the corporate ladder to the career jungle gym. And going from traditional leadership to influencer leadership. Now, I'm not going to force you to adopt any of these norms. But the future of work is about more than technology. It is about evolving how we lead and connect with our fellow humans. So, if you want to recruit and retain that next generation of leaders for the success of your organization's long-term success, then I invite you to embrace the great workplace rewrite. The future of work is here. Let's write it together. Thank you.